everyone, Darren Hunter here, and with Deniz Youssef, we are with the PM Growth Expert Show. Of course, part of our training resources really with Inspired Growth Training. And this is a video podcast. Of course, we have the audio version available on iTunes as well as Podbean if you have an Android device. Now, today our guest is Brian Birdy from PMI Birdy Properties, the largest property management company based in San Antonio, Texas. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you, guys.
And we had a lot of fun recently at the Door Grow Live conference in Missouri. It was lovely to see you there. Plus, I think we caught up with you in Florida a time before that. And Brian, you are the current president of the National Association of Residential Property Managers in the United States. So we are in the presence, Deniz, of property management royalty.
for 11 more days.
Oh, wow,
okay.
11 days. Okay,
But
there you go.
at the end of the day, I mean, Brian, you're a guy that we really look up to. I've certainly been connected to you for a number of years, and it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. But before we get started, just a quick promotion for our exclusive partners, Rockend Technologies with their cloud platform Property Tree. Now, if you're still considering going from a server, I know the Americans, Brian, you guys are all over cloud and have been for a long time. The Australians are still coming on board. And with cloud technology, you have to have the right partner on board. You need to be very careful about who you're placing your data with. But Rockend, with their Property Tree platform, they have partnered with Microsoft as well for security and protection. So go to propertytree.com.au, have a chat to the guys at Property Tree, get a demo and see how you can benefit from going to the cloud. Of course, you can be doing your end of month, you can be dealing with your clients sitting on a beach in Bali with your iPad. They're the benefits of using cloud. So chat to the people at propertytree.com.au. But Brian, we will be focusing, and Deniz, we're focusing our questions a lot around probably one of the most amazing things that we've seen. And today, as of today's date in December 2018, Brian, you have hit 626 Google reviews. That's amazing. So Deniz, we'll talk about that in the interview. But anyway, Deniz, over to you.
Yeah, certainly we'll talk about that. That's got to be one of the key focuses on some of the things that Brian's done with the rent roll growth. And Brian, I'll never forget, obviously, you know, in Nevada when we were sitting down, and I think it was the first time that you seen me speak when the bear walked past us at the Nevada chapter. But I know I've listed a lot of doors here in Australia, but you've certainly personally listed a painful amount of exciting doors, should we say, at the same time, because we know the work behind all the doors that get listed. But you personally have listed a lot of properties, so it's exciting to have you on. And obviously, you know, as Darren said earlier, you guys are now the largest in the San Antonio area. And Darren and I have got some close friends in the area that we think it's great that you're opposition to them. So, and it's good to see how friendly you are.
The two companies that we're connected to as well. So I know that you guys will get along well, which is great.
And in Australia, I've got to say,
business there is, because, you know, all of those companies are growing, you know, within that same city. There's a lot of business out there to go get.
And there is, and I just love the fact that, you know, you three would be the top three agencies, and you will sit down at the bar, have a talk, you'll network, you call each other. It's kind of unheard of here in Australia to see three property management companies in the same city being so friendly. So I actually admire and love seeing that. I think it's great. So, you know, well done to you guys for all that. So, Brian, why did you join real estate? What was it? Was your dad in real estate? Your parents in
Yeah,
real estate?
my dad had started, he was in the Air Force for almost 26 years. And in the late 70s, when interest rates were really, really high, all of his friends were leaving San Antonio. He had decided he was going to stay there and retire. And at that time, at 18.5%, you really couldn't sell your house. And so he was basically started a property management business to just simply take care of his friends' houses. I mean, that was the true beginning of it all. But he just got really good at it and started growing it. Eventually, I spent 15 years in the Air Force myself and ended up back in my hometown in San Antonio, still in the Air Force. And my dad was being overwhelmed with his growth and didn't want to grow a business. And I just looked at him and said, well, let me start working for you. And as I got more involved, I realized, man, there is really something we could do here. And so I got out of the Air Force and started growing that business. I think at the time when I got there, I think we had maybe 75 doors, and and we've grown it up to over 1,700 doors now.
Wow. So was looking after like management's the key priority for your dad at the time, or was he selling properties?
No, there were times where he also sold houses. I mean, that was a big part of it, and he kind of leaned towards that. I would say when I started working in this business, we were kind of a 50-50 business.
Yeah.
We did 50% property management, 50% real estate sales because of the timing of that. Early 2000s all the way up to 2007. I mean, if you had a real estate license and you woke up in the morning, you could sell a house. I mean, there was just so much going on. But as I was looking at growing my business, I just looked at the landscaping around, and there were very few professional property management companies, and all the ones that were there that actually had a presence were all my dad's age or older. And I could just see the writing on the wall. They were all going to sell, retire, do something, and then there would be no real force. So I started growing this thing and focusing on being the best at it. And I'd say we had a really strong name and massive growth all the way up to the point where we had the big crash in 2007. And that's when a lot more people started getting involved in property management, and it created a lot of the businesses that are there today. But we've been in business. We've been in business for 40 years. Next year, we'll celebrate our 40th anniversary. So
wow, that's a huge congratulations. Awesome. I mean, we're actually coming to the States next year a couple of times. Hopefully, we can come and celebrate with you. That's an amazing achievement. I mean, so as much as your dad was in the business, it wasn't like you woke up and said, I'm going to be a real estate agent or a realtor. You actually had a career and you fell into it because you saw the light, should we say. So, there's not too many people that I do know, Brian, and Darren, you can, have your 2 cents in on this, that have actually told me they've woken up in the morning when they're at school still saying, I want to be a realtor. It's very, very rare. And even though your dad was in the business, it wasn't the forefront for yourself. So, you fall into that category of not wanting to do it because it's your dad's job. So it's a rarity to find. It's that industry that people fall into, So tell us about your area.
All three of my kids work for me now. But
they can say it.
But no, because my oldest was going to be a mortgage broker. He was going to go open up a mortgage, a branch of our business. But he graduated college in 2007 when the mortgage industry imploded. And so he was licensed mortgage guy at the time and a real estate agent. And so when the one went away, then boom, here he was. My daughter went to school to be a nurse, but then ended up graduating with a degree in accounting and a real estate license. And she runs my accounting department. So. So they all end up back in this business, I mean, but if you're running this, they're sitting there looking at it and they just see the ability of what you can do with it. I think the more my kids than me, they see that there was a future if they really wanted it. So
yeah, and what I love about that is you've got people with experience and expertise in other areas coming in looking, so they're going to have their expertise and bringing that to your business. So that's excellent. So I think it's great, especially that mortgage broking side of things with your son. I think that a lot more people need to realize that they need to align themselves with those strategic alliances, and we might talk about that a little bit later. But so tell us a little bit about your office, your area, your location, etc., your demographics, and how you've kind of got your business set up. Like, how are you set up?
So when I first started in this business, it was just me in an office on the side of my parents' house. which is not the greatest place to try to gain investors' confidence in your business. So, and we grew. We were in a very nice office building as we grew. Today, we own our own building. We're in North Central San Antonio in a very popular area called Stone Oak. We have a staff of probably about 18 that work for us there. And, you know, we've grown. We have a lot of military connections. We have a lot of associations with real estate agents in town who refer their property management business back to us. And we manage a lot. We manage probably more than other people do. You know, we probably have rent rolls from, you know, on a monthly basis from about $500 to about $4,000 a month. San Antonio is not really a high-priced city, and most of our rentals, you know, the average rental in our town is probably close to like $1,250 a month. And so
that's about $300 Australian a week.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we have focused on single family. We do a lot of single family management. That is primarily our core. But we have grown and went and learned how to be very effective in small multifamily complexes. We see there is a lot of it in our city, and it was underserviced in the property management industry because the owners bought them, but the apartment guys really don't want to manage you know, a 30-unit complex. It didn't fit their model. And most property managers haven't figured out the little bit of things that are different. So we went to focus on that. And so we have probably a good 20% of our inventory. And right now it's kind of growing. We have a bunch coming on. We have a 50 unit that's coming on in January, and this guy's planning on going and buying a bunch more. And so we see that as another way to grow the business. We do a little bit of commercial, we do association management, and we've opened up a new piece of short-term or vacation management. It will actually go into effect in January, where we're going to be talking about managing those properties that a person may only be renting for 1 night or 3 nights that are fully furnished and ready to go as a vacation.
So that's like an Airbnb.
Yes, yeah, basically being the boot on the ground. There's no real solid boots on the ground for that industry in our city, and we just see that we can do it. We have a lot of Mexican nationals who own property in San Antonio but do not live in their house for all but 2 weeks out of the year, and the rest of the time it just sits there and doesn't make them any money. And we just see that's a great market that we're going to go after to show them how they could, even if it doesn't rent all the time. Right now they're making nothing. Let's show them how they could turn it into an income producing property and still use it if they want to.
Yeah.
So that's our newest thing we're going to work on next year.
Okay, excellent. So how you've got a BDM? Have you got leasing agents? Do your property managers lease their own properties? How
so I'm structured probably different than most out there. I'm a completely departmentalized structure. And that probably comes from my Air Force days, is that I don't really have property managers. I do have a business development manager who is responsibility to go out there and grow the business, primarily looking in the residential and the commercial side. I have pillar leaders, one who's running the vacation piece, so he's kind of running it all, and the BDM for that specific, as well as an association. But in the residential structure, I don't have any property managers. I have departments. So I got a leasing department, a maintenance department, an accounting department, got a make-ready department, and the business development. I have a sales. We also do brokerage, so I have a sales piece that's on there as well.
Yep. Okay.
And so they manage the whole by the structure and the jobs that we've built.
Yeah,
so which makes us a little different.
Yeah, it is certainly different. Just to explain for the Australians and New Zealanders, Get Ready is basically a department where so in Australia, if you've got to get smoke alarms done, you've got to get some maintenance done on the property, you've got to prepare the house, you know, your property manager will organize, you know, 3-4 different types of people to go out and do it. But in the US, you can have one person that goes in and does everything. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's getting a property ready. Right. You charge an owner a fee to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. In Australia and New Zealand, you're not allowed to do that. It's part of the management service. Okay. So just so they can understand that.
And then internally, the person who's responsible for that is, we have a department where they handle all maintenance concerns on all of the houses, as opposed to a property manager only worrying about that maintenance of their homes. And what we found is that allows us to create experts. So I have a maintenance team of experts. That's all they do. Okay. I got a leasing team of experts. I got an accounting team of experts. That's all they do. But they do it for all of my houses.
Gotcha. Okay. That's I suppose it's task based is the closest that we could explain it for
Right.
Australians,
Yeah.
Darren.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It's
task
task
based.
based.
We're just focused on a very narrow amount of
Mhm.
tasks and become experts in that area.
Yeah. So Brian, how many doors have you grown in the last 12 months?
In the last 12 months, I think we're probably up to about 140
Yep.
that we brought in this year.
Excellent.
Not
So
and it was a bit of a quiet start to the year. Real estate sales were very high at the beginning of the year, and it was a little quieter on our front for a few of those months from what we're used to. And we've actually turned it on in the last couple of months. So
yeah, I mean, do you, I've got to obviously bring up politics here because, the market in Australia has slowed down in the last few months because of uncertainty of our leadership. And we've got an election coming up. It's the first, is that something that comes into effect for you as well? Do you find?
well, certainly it does because investors are looking at those kind of things. Currently, the change in the tax laws can affect the benefit of investment properties. Everything that's happened in the United States over the last 2 years has kind of benefited this market. The one
Yeah.
thing that's kind of been drawing against it was actually a pretty healthy sales market. And so what you don't lose out on those investor guys, but you do lose out on your accidental landlords that just aren't ready to part for their house with what they're going to get for it, and then realizing that they could rent it out and keep it as an investment.
Yeah.
And
So
that's always been a big part of our market. So
yeah. Okay. So that's your kind of your reluctant landlord
yeah,
that
yeah.
wasn't prepared to. Yeah. Okay. So Brian, if you were to meet yourself the first day you turned up to work, you're walking into the house to talk to your dad about, coming in, you get tapped on the shoulder and you look over and it's you. What advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know today? Would you give yourself, on your first day?
You need 5 things. 1, you need to join NARPM. 2, you need a personal relationship with an outstanding real estate attorney. You need a CPA. You need coaches and mentors who are experienced in the business to help you understand what you don't know today so you can go out and grow your business. Because what I did was I learned all these things that I needed to know through trial and error and failure and mistakes and loss of money. But think about it, in 1997, when I first started doing this, there wasn't a lot of that available to you. And so if I could meet myself today, I would grow my business very differently than I did. And I would also say is, think bigger than you think you can be. Because when I came in, I had an idea of what I could do with my business, and I've exceeded it tremendously from what I ever thought it could have been. But I'm wondering if I would have had that mindset much earlier in my career, what could have happened? I didn't expand into other areas when the business was right in front of me. I said, "Oh, I don't do that." I'm like, "Why are you turning business away? Why don't you learn how to do that if somebody wants to help you grow your business by doing something else?" It took me years before I opened up my mindset that, hey, we could do a lot more and grow our business and it's a good thing in doing that, because by managing different aspects of property management, when there is a shift in the market that might affect one part of it, if you're diversified a little bit within property management, you're still going to survive and do well.
Yeah, yeah. I love I love where you're. Obviously, I love you're telling people to hire a coach. I think that's important, and it's I mean, that's what we do. We do our own personal
I'm
development.
serious. This isn't just because I'm on your thing. There are a lot of coaches. There's more now than there ever has been. But I've seen the effect on people's businesses, because a lot of times you're alone in this. This is a lonely business when you first start. It's just you, and you will fail yourself all day long. But if you have somebody who can guide you and hold you accountable, we can do so much more than we think we can.
Yeah, yes, totally. I think one of the biggest feedbacks that I tend to get, and I'm sure Darren could agree to this, is business owners don't feel like they're on their own anymore when they've employed us. They feel like they've got someone that, like another business partner. And that's how I like to think that we take our training, is we're coming in as a business partner, as a mentor and a guide for them. So it's good. Now, one thing that you did say that caught my attention as well is, where you used to turn business away. You never looked at, oh, we don't do that, if I could just say the same thing happens for our business. Like, we get people, do you train on this? And I'm like, I'm the yes man in the relationship. I'm like, yep, we could do it. But I say, right now, we're looking into it. And I'm Darren, we've got to do A, B, and C. And Darren's going, "Nee, but that's not our core value." I said, "Mate, it's got to become the core value." And we are now in that shift and taking on new stuff because it's a no-brainer. If you don't, someone else is going to.
I got hired by an association board to be the property manager of their association. Got called on the phone and was congratulated that the board had met last night and had selected us. And I was like, how is my name even in the running? I didn't interview. I didn't go meet with them. They said, well, one of your owners who you manage the property in our community submitted your company. We reviewed them all and we selected you. And I'm like, I love winning. Thank you very much. Only one problem. And here's where I should have learned earlier. I told her on the phone, we don't do that. And I didn't take the business.
Wow. Okay.
And I think it wasn't probably maybe a month or two after that I just woke up in the middle of the night and I said, what are you doing? If they're going to hand you business, if you're not doing it today, find out how to do that business and figure out if you can partner with what you believe you're supposed to be doing and continue to grow.
Yeah, spot on. And if I can just, you spoke about one of the 5 things you said, join a NARPM group. So for Australians, that's like joining an Inspired Growth training membership, where we organise trainings, meetings, etc. And it's bringing a group of experienced property managers together where they can network and have that continued development, right? So it's in it like Australia. There's other areas. There's LPMA. There's PPM, etc. So obviously, it's being part of a group of people that want to grow. Why would you not hang around other people that want to grow their business, for crying out loud? It's a bit of a no-brainer, right?
Well, you just learn things. There's never a time where I can't go someplace and within a 15-minute conversation, we will lead into something that either I can share with them and teach them, or they can share with me, and I back and forth and say, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And you go back to your business, and what you implement may not be exactly what they were doing, but a version of it that works for you. And if it either makes you grow, or makes you more money, or makes you more efficient with your time, then you win. And we're only capable of coming up with so many ideas ourselves. I'm capable of coming up with no ideas. My ideas are inspired by talking to other people and then going, okay, I could do that. Let's go back and figure out how to do that in my business. Yeah,
spot on. I mean, when you're at a conference or an event, whatever you're going to, your brain is interpreting what you've taken. And when you're at the bar later, or in a spa, or in a pool talking to people, and you're listening to something they've caught that your mind wasn't focused on, it's that networking that can be more valuable than the actual content that you're listening to at the event. So it's just a matter of getting into those groups. And I say in a spa because Brian, yourself and I were in a spa in Florida. Now, we won't say what time of the day it was or morning, but we'll just say we're in a spa.
Right. We also won't say what
There's
other.
There's not much that can happen in Disney World late at night, okay?
I don't know. Remember what convention was happening at the same time, so.
I do. If anyone wants to know, send me a message. Okay. So if you were to start a rent roll from scratch today, what would your 3 key, strategies be? You're at zero, you're starting on your
own. Well, I've got to be visible. So I mean, everything's based off of, website and social media and just getting out there and being visible so I can be transparent. Today, I believe just setting some guarantees for them, letting them know, we've made some adjustments in our business to try to let people, one of the things that we're doing today that's actually really winning for us is we stopped requiring a long-term contract. I mean, I used to sign up for a long-term contract, and the trend is out there. I've been watching it, and we've applied it ourselves. So we now say, we put you on a 30-day contract that can be terminated with 30 days notice from day one, and we give you a 90-day guarantee. If you are not satisfied with our service in the first 90 days, let us know. We'll give you your management fee back. Not your leasing fee, not any of the other fees I got, but just those 3 months management fee. You can take your house and take your money. Because what we know is three months in, they're not going to be unhappy with us. But what it's done is it has lowered their fear of getting in a contract.
No risk. You've given them no risk. And
no risk.
Once they go into the land of peace of mind, they go into set and forget. As long as you're providing a solution, they've got no need to look anywhere else, and you've got their business, you know, forever that they need you.
And I've talked to my BDM about it, and I said, what do you notice the change? She says their trust level jumps dramatically the moment I cover our guarantees. And she's like, so I'm covering them even earlier. She's like, you can just see the wall crushing down around them, and they just lean back and relax a little bit more. They're a lot more open about what they're really fearful of. And they figure, okay, you must be good or you wouldn't offer the guarantee. And if I go with you and you perform, I don't care that I can leave. I'm not going to leave, but I have the ability to. It's crazy how when I first started, it was like, lock them down for a year, and then you could prove that they should stay with you and make them live with you for a year.
But they don't go, do they? They don't leave.
You know,
and
no, you know,
leave.
but they're never going to leave. So then the difference now is it's like, let's quit making it hard to sign up. Let's make it easy to sign up. Let's get rid of all the things you're afraid of. And I'm going to say, I'm going to back it up. I'm going to prove to you you're making the right choice.
Yeah, so guarantee, that's really good. I mean, you're smashing their concern out early. You know, I like it. And no doubt you've got she'd be able to back it up with some stats of great things that you're doing at the same time, which is important. Okay, so you spoke about having presence. So we're talking about an online presence. So your presence, like having a website, reviews, social media.
Google reviews are huge. I mean, people are making decisions today on almost everything you do. The very first thing they're looking at is a review. If you want to download an app, you go see what everybody thinks about it. You want to look at a movie, you go see what people think about it. You want to hire a company, eat at a restaurant, buy this bike, buy this song. Everyone's going to go look. And you're thinking, well, they're not really going to make a decision about their home based off of a Google review. And I'm like, yes, they are. And we did not have the greatest Google review or a competitive enough number of reviews compared to people in my own market. And so we have really focused the latter half of this year on changing that and making it an absolute priority of everybody within our business to build our Google review number, our star rating, and the number of reviews to a point that people will have to say, I've got to talk to this company before I make my decision.
Sure. So we were with you in St. Louis in what was it?
November.
It was in November.
A month ago.
And
it was November 11th because it was Veterans Day.
Okay. No, it was too. November 11th. So I think I was like your 350 or 60th review at the time. And so we're only talking a month ago, right?
So 5 weeks ago.
5 weeks ago.
So
how many have you got now?
Well, when we were talking in St. Louis at the beginning of November, I was pushing to try to reach 400. We thought that if we could get to 400,
I think you're at 353.
Yeah, it was going to be a significant move. So today, right now, I'm at 626 Google reviews, and we have a 4.5 rating. We have, I think we have done almost 100 reviews a month for the past 4 months. And it has taken us visibly online to naturally the #1 organic. And I was facing 2 other really good companies who are just as good as me when you look at all things. And they both had over 400 reviews and over 4.5 on their ratings. And I was sitting here at like 250 reviews and a 3.6 rating. And I'm like, we're never going to win these guys who just look at this. They're not going to call me. They're going to call them first and maybe some others. They're never going to reach me no matter what I do. We have to focus on this. We have to change it. Now, I will tell you, I didn't think I'd get to 626 reviews by December. I'm amazed of where we've gotten. And it was partnering with everyone that I could. And a big part was my staff. I made my staff make this absolutely priority 1. And to do that, like most things, I put a little money behind it.
Yeah.
I decided.
I want to thrash this out because
it's a marketing expense is the way I looked at it.
Guys, I just want to thrash this out, and for our viewers and our listeners, we want to spend some time really digging down because one, Brian, this is the best Google review numbers we've ever seen, and we know that with some of our members and people that we coach, they're getting phone calls from potential clients saying, we have seen the amount of Google reviews that you've got online compared to your competitors. and therefore we want you to manage our property. So right now, Facebook reviews and Google reviews are a really, really big thing. I just want to throw in a couple more things before, Dennis, we got to really dig deep with Brian on this stuff.
Yep.
Now, firstly, I was in Orlando, 2010. I was called into a meeting in an office there where they were in damage control over the amount of bad Google reviews that they had. And we're talking, people were saying in their reviews, we would rather drink bleach than have our properties managed by XYZ company. And the meeting was there talking about how can we overcome these bad reviews. In the end, that company had to change their name because their reviews were killing them. So Google reviews, Facebook reviews are a really, really big deal. Now, before, Dennis, I hand things back to you, I just want to say for our Inject Growth Series subscribers, in session 36, Michael Sands has done a whole session on growing your digital presence where we get deep into Google and Facebook reviews too. So for the people subscribed, go and check that out. If you're interested in that, just go to inspiredgrowthtraining.com and the Inject Growth Series information's there. But Dennis, back to you.
There is another session that I've also done on testimonials and reviews in there as well, Darren.
Yeah, you have, that's right.
Yeah, so there's some really good sessions that we've got there. But Brian, what you've done, I mean, just to back up what Darren's saying, where, you know, Martina Berry from Professionals in Rockingham, she's got about 110 reviews more than her closest rivals.
Yeah, she's got about over 200 at the moment. Even so, with those numbers, she was getting the phone calls. So I can imagine over 600 is crazy.
Well, what's happening, and the important thing that people have got to realize, they've already made their decision. They're using you. They're ringing up saying, "Hey, we're going to use you." So the fees doesn't come into the equation.
Trust is already there instantly. It's now a warm lead, isn't it? It's a warm lead.
No. It's a hot lead. It's not a warm lead. It's a hot lead. So take warm out the equation because they've made their decision to use you because they've seen how good you are. You've got reputation online through Google, and we all understand the importance of Google. Google have come out and said that the most common thing people are asking now for is a question like coffee shop near me. Hello, coffee, right? Even though I'm sitting in the car park of a McDonald's doing a thing here, I've got my coffee. People are going to be Googling property manager near me. And if you've got higher reviews, then you're going to come up first in those search optimizations through them. And it's factual, it does happen. So I could talk about this for hours, and I'm not even a Google expert. But Google have come out and said that question alone is tripling each year. So if 30 people did it last year, 90 people did it this year. And then it's going to be 270. It's tripling each year. So, you know, near me is something really important. So that's really good. Okay, so that's two things. We've only covered two. Online presence. And if I can just quickly say Facebook, if your Facebook page is identical name to your business page and address, Google will recognize your reviews on Facebook when someone's doing a search for you. They calculate that to build your SEO. So it's important to make sure. I see so many businesses, as an example, if we had our business is Inspired Growth Training, if our Facebook page was just called Inspired Growth, Google wouldn't recognize it. You've got to have the same name and address. So what's your third thing? Online presence, having a guarantee.
Well, I just want to share one more thing about that online presence. There's other things that you can do. You know, you got to learn. It's like you're playing a game, right? Google is in charge, whether you like it or not. They're the king. And they're the ones that set the rules as to what they believe is most important. Well, they give you credit for reviews. It's a big piece, right? They give credit for activity on your page, right? They get credit if you have videos on your website that are tracked properly and people watch them, then they sit on them longer, right? So if you're going to do those videos for your homes, make sure you tie them correctly. Here's a piece that we learned and applied, and I think it really helped us, was I took my phone number off of my for rent signs. So when you see my house for rent, it doesn't have a phone number. Do you know what it has in really big, bold letters? My website. So what do they do? They go to the website, they Google you, and on the Google page, on all of them, they can click from their phone, because you know that's how everybody's doing it, and they can call your office. When I took it off, I watched the spike on my Google Analytics of how many people were calling my office from the Google page, and Google gives you like double credit when a person calls you from your Google page. So it's like, wow, small change, but a big result. And so if Google loves me because they're calling me, they're on my website, they stay longer because of my video. And then if I make sure I ask every owner, every tenant, every vendor, every human being I know to make sure that I get a 5-star review from them and my numbers go up, then I'm going to be very competitive when an owner wants to find a property manager where I work.
Yeah.
Deniz, I want to probably change the structure of what we intended to ask with questions, because I want to go really deep with this. We got to go deeper on these Google reviews. So, Brian, let's just tell us, how are you getting your staff on board to be asking for 5-star Google reviews? What sort of incentives are in place? Let's get into the machine of it. How are we actually pumping out these Google review numbers? How are we doing it?
Okay, so I did 2 things. The very first thing I wrote a very sincere, informative letter to all of my owners, and I let them understand that them as owners of properties that I manage, they are affected by my Google reviews and my Google rating. Because when a tenant wants to rent a house, where are they going to look? Online. If they find my website, what are they going to find first? That owner's house, which means I'm going to find better tenants and rent their house faster. So I first appealed to all my owners and said, I need you to rate me, because when your house goes back on the market, you want me to be the #1 property manager that anybody finds so I can rent your house faster. And that had a small impact, but it wasn't enough. So then I went to my staff, I had a meeting with them. I have meet with them every month, and we do a big event, and I think we were at a barbecue or something. And as I was sitting there talking with them, I sat there and I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's so serious about this. I'm going to pay for these reviews if I can determine it came from you, that we get a true review. And I want us to attack tenants, applicants, owners, vendors, anyone we do business with, right? And that was the beginning. And then ultimately what I really realized was Google doesn't really care who's rating me. And so I'm like, I don't really care who's writing about me. So have anybody who wants to write nice reviews about me, write them, but it has to be a valid review. It needs to be a 5-star, but I absolutely need my owners and my tenants. And so I said, I'm going to pay for them. The very first month, I got a handful. It really wasn't that much. But the next monthly meeting where we had our big event, we showed up with cash. We called them to the front. We told them how many reviews they had, and then we counted it out in $5 bills, because I want 5-star reviews. And I wish I had the picture for you. That was the first month, not much. The next month, it was a little bit better. But by the 3rd month, the stack of $5 bills I gave away was rather impressive. It was kind of like, I was a little worried leaving the bank because of the amount of money in my pocket. Now, yeah, I'm spending this dollars, but I'm spending it on who? My own staff.
Yeah.
Who now? And you can imagine that they're like, they understand the importance. I've expressed the importance of why we're doing this. I'm showing them the results of why we're doing this. So it's like every time you get a chance to ask for it, ask for a review.
So you're giving the cash in front. They're getting the cash in front of their peers in the meeting.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
good.
So last month, we had a guy that he works in my accounting department, but he also has a real estate license. And so on his off time, he shows houses. So he sat down and wrote a heartfelt letter to every human being he has ever shown a house to, whether they rented from us or not. And he got, I don't know, 45 5-star reviews in a 2-week period. And I paid out a massive amount of money to him, which I found out later he actually donated to charity. So I feel really good about it.
Ah, nice. Okay, that's really good.
Now, Deniz, with Greg Watson in New Zealand, what's his office doing with incentives, team incentives?
So a couple of offices have done this now. So Greg actually brought it to my attention of what they did is, look, we've got a computer screen here, right? So he blue tacked a $10 bill, 5 $10 bills either side of the screen. Okay.
You attach $5 and $10 notes on the side of the screen.
$5, $10 notes either side. So
oh, so $10 notes on
bills.
the screen of his staff where they're doing their work on their monitors.
Right, and every time a review came up that their name was mentioned, he'd grab the $10 bill, pull it off, and slap it down on their desk and walk away, or he'd announce it, you know. So it created that competitive edge in front of everyone, like you've done with the $5 notes. What real estate agent is not competitive? Hello. So they want to beat the person sitting next to them. So it was a visual. Obviously, they had a spreadsheet with the notes. So they, you know, if it was me, I'd go buy a coffee if it was $10 sitting in front of me. But so they had to have track records. Now, Julie Collins from First National in Toronto, I encouraged her to do this. She did it. She was willing. I think she had, I can't remember the amount, $300 or $400 that she put aside to do it. The money was paid out in a week, and she was allowing a month. Right, a week. It was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting some good teaching here, and I want to go. Let's keep on going deeper because this is really good. Now, what are your staff saying to tradespeople or vendors, to owners, to tenants, to applicants? What's some of the wording, typical wording they're using that's then resulting in a Google review?
Well, a lot of it will be where the person calls, and as soon as they say, thank you, thanks for doing this. And he said, hey, I love that. I said, but you know, some of them will say it like this, you know, we're so happy that we've been able to satisfy you in this, whatever it was, right? He said, but what I would really like is if you could write a review so that not only I know this, that our whole staff know this, more importantly, my boss will know this. And then even bigger than that, we want everybody in San Antonio to know that we really care about our tenants or our owners or our vendors or whoever it is that you're talking to. And then they send them an email with the link.
The link. It takes email with the link. That's the key.
Or you text it to them and you send them the link. And so when all I have to do is click, and type, then
that's the difference. I had someone the other day Facebook message me saying, Darren, we got an incentive program in the company at the moment. This was on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, Deniz, and eView. And Alicia said, hey, we got a incentive program on at the moment. We're going to get Google reviews. Can you do me a Google review? And so I went online and said, I can't find the place where I need to go. And then she sends me an email with the link saying I was in, review was done. So that is the key, is the email with the link in front of the person after you've asked with some wording.
Mate, there's something even better, and I've just looked it up on our phone. You don't even have to do it via an email. It's such a simple process of what you can do now is I'm literally on the Inspired Growth Google review. Obviously, I haven't written myself one. Brian, we have a 5-star rating. Okay, I look forward to seeing your review pop up on there. So you can actually,
of course, you don't charge late fees or kick people out of their houses. So
I know, you're doing very well. We're going to talk about that in a moment too. No. We're going to dig deep there as well.
Yeah, but what you can do is you can actually forward it as a text message or as a Facebook message, or you could share it to Facebook where people can do it. You can actually share it straight from the website.
Here's some strategic ways to look at this. If any of your listeners are like, okay, I want to do it, but how's the smartest way? So think about this. Ask for it at the appropriate times. Yeah. So tenant has a maintenance request. You solve the maintenance request. What we started doing was we started sending surveys out, basically asking the tenant, how did everything go? We verified that the work was done. We verified that they were happy. We verified that our vendor did what we expected them to do. Well, when they respond on that survey and say, I'm happy, this was great, I loved them, they cleaned out, they fixed everything, right behind that, we send them the email with the link that says, could you please, and I don't remember what all the words are, but in the nicest way, could you share that? And the response on that is increased right then, immediately after you have solved the problem for them, than any other time. When is your owner the happiest? 2 times. When you tell him his house just got rented, or when you tell him you renewed with the tenant for another year. And so at that time, we send that out to that owner because they're sitting there saying, you guys are the best, you got this done for me. And then they go in and comment. And it comes right along with what you've just provided. And so then the reviews are not only there, but what they say about your business is strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you need to meet all the concerns. If you've just taken on a management where it was with a rival agent, and they've emailed you and said, hey, Brian, really appreciate, wow, you leased my property, or you took care of A, B, and C, the other agent couldn't do it, I would be emailing back, really appreciate your words. Is it okay if I use this as a testimonial for future clients? Or even better, can you click on here and write us a review? Of course they're going to. They've just complimented you in an email. Or if it was a conversation, shoot it as them in an email. You know, so it's the happiest points you possibly can get. Especially, Darren, an important one people forget about, when an owner has moved back into a property that was managed, that's when you want to get a testimonial from an owner, right there.
When we get a positive email where they've written the words, those we respond immediately with the link, because all they have to do then is just copy and paste, and they're done. And so if they've already given you the words, you just give them the avenue to do it so that it will work, because them telling you is great. We can all be happy, pat ourselves on the back, but it doesn't help us get new doors, be more visible. You know, that we got to work at getting them to help us grow our business. And most of your owners who you're treating well, they want to help you grow your business.
Oh, they do. They're already raving fans of yours. And this should be part of your pre-list email to any potential new client. You know, thanks for your time. Our appointment's booked at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Here's some information to help. You mentioned about whatever their concern was. You know, just to ensure that you know that you've got the right agency coming. Click here to see what other people say it's about, and feed them to your Google reviews. You know, feed them to an educational video that you've done, whatever the case is. I mean, I've got a 2-hour presentation on that, Darren. I think in the Inspired Growth Inject series, or it might be a 1 hour in the Inject, but I've got it as a 2 hour when I do a presentation. But you know, it's so important in setting them up and confirming with them that they've made the right choice of getting you into their home. You know, I literally just got a message from somebody, and I've replied them as you were talking. How long should an appraisal take a presentation? I mean, personally, I used to work on 90 minutes. I would book out 90 minutes. Sometimes you might be there for 10 minutes, half an hour. I always worked on 90 minutes because I planned on getting the paperwork back, right? It's a funny question. I always blocked out the maximum time. Sorry, I've got to put my hands in so you can see the maximum time, but sometimes you'd only be there for a short period of time. How long would you normally allocate yourself, Brian? If I rang you up and said, can you come do a presentation, I'm thinking about renting my home out, how long would you normally wait?
So I normally have done all the paperwork and sent it to them in advance, so they would be reviewing it before I get there. Of course, I show up with the ability for them to sign up that day. I tell them I'm coming with a camera and a sign in my car, because my intention are we'll talk through, and I usually ask them, you know, and so I book out usually about the same. It's maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on the site, because my goal is we get through the contract, we sign the contract, I'm hired. Now we walk the house, gather all the facts, get all the data, make sure they're comfortable, know everything that's going on, put a sign in the yard, take a picture with them in front of it so they feel all excited, and then I tell them I'm heading back and we'll be putting your house up on the market, so get ready, people are going to start looking at it. You know, that works when they're actually living in the home. Those are the longest. If they're not living in the home, it's vacant, or I'm doing it online with them, it's a lot shorter.
Yeah, that's right. It's dependable. I mean, there's a lot to do. It's interesting. I told them to call me. They've just tried calling me. But
I don't think you realize that you're doing this right now. So.
No, they don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, and it's true. I like how you get them out the front of the house, because you're thinking your social media post at the same time, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, excellent. So, I mean, look, reviews are such an important thing that I don't think people realize that they're actually getting them in emails, and it's turning them into reviews. You know, underneath, if we could just talk about, you know, your website, Brian, do you have reviews underneath your staff profiles?
Oh, no, I don't.
Go.
That's a good idea.
Because
we do have a revolving review piece that's on the page that people see it, but we have not built a piece that ties reviews to the name under the staff, so that but that's a very good idea.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
The reason why I say that is people these days.
Email signature. It's under the email signature.
Yeah.
But no, and on the website as well. So this is what I like about Brian. He's an implementer. But the reason why I say that is people are doing their homework so much more now. They want to know who they're dealing with. It's no difference to when I get a business inquiry on our website. I'm Googling who it is. I bring up their website. I'm looking at their face when I'm talking to them. Mums and dads are doing the same. We are like fish bowls these days. They've already checked your online presence. They've already checked your Google reviews. They've already checked your social media. They've checked how you market properties. They're ringing you. So there's already a trust factor there. So if they're going to look at who's going to manage my property, I want reviews underneath their name. So I think it's a key thing. So they might actually say, hey, Brian, I want you to come around and manage my property. And by the way, I'd like Darren to manage it. I've read his reviews. That's the type of property manager I'm after, because each property manager has got their own specialty. One might be like a drill sergeant when it comes to collecting rent. So you might find their reviews is about, wow, the rent got paid. They made the person go back. The other one might be more of a shepherd style property manager that, wow, they really made sure my house was cared for and blah, blah, blah. So it's actually teaching you how you're going to win the business because of who they've chosen to want to manage your property. So there's so many factors to look at. There's web portals in Australia, realestate.com.au. You can actually have videos under agent profiles on their websites as well. So that REA, just to explain for yourself, Brian, is a portal where people advertise their rental properties. So you've got realtor.com, I think it is, realtor.com.
Right.
Trello.
Dennis, they've got a lot of different platforms in America. That people go to Google to search. In Australia, most people go to realestate.com.au and search. So they're the differences. Yeah. But guys, we need to be wrapping this interview up. One last question, Brian, before we finish. You are sitting at 4.5. Now with 700 managements, 4.5 star review is excellent over 626 reviews as at today. That's really, really good. And you and I know we can't please everybody. If we're evicting a tenant, they're going to be wanting to give you a 1-star review. So very quickly, what are some strategies that you got in place to fix that? But also, how do you? What's a quick tip on responding to a bad review, because they are just a fact of life?
Well, and we get them. I will tell you that as we started focusing on the reviews, and as our reviews started growing to the point where there was all this positivity, a natural occurrence, strangely enough, happened. The negativity went away. When a person goes to your reviews and sees a bunch of negative and they got something bad to say, they jump on the bandwagon. When they show up and they're a little upset, but they see all this positivity, they go, well, maybe it's just me. And then they might have a conversation. So we've done two things. One, in every one of our email, we have a rating system at the bottom, and it's basically a happy face, a sad face, and like a middle face, red, yellow, and green. And it just says, how did we do? And it's on every single, and so the people see it so often that before they go out to a Google review, a lot of times they'll just click there, and it brings them to a portal where they can tell me how they're doing. Now that's not a public place, comes straight to us. So here's what we do. If they say something nice, we immediately go and convince them to put it online. If they say something unhappy, then we react immediately, find out the story, get to the bottom, and answer, because they're upset. Why? Well, let's just figure out what it is and solve it. If we can do something different, we can. If they're unhappy and we can't do it, they're still unhappy. But if they get a sense that they can write something and it's quick and easier to get to than all the other choices, it limits the number of bad reviews that show up. And that has worked. That was the first thing we did, but that didn't grow my reviews. It just eliminated the bad ones. I still had to add the other piece to grow the good ones. And of course, the other thing is just to treat everybody as that every single person that you do business with is important. Every one of them is a future good or a future bad review. And so do all you can. Now, there are human beings that there's nothing you can do, but generally, those situations I've evicted a lot of people, and people don't generally, if they got evicted for a valid reason, they don't go on and say bad things about you because they know they're wrong.
Yeah, that's good. If
people
I could just
add something bad, people who write something bad think that you've done something wrong to them. And so when that happens, you got to figure out what that is and get that to go away.
Yeah, where you've got the three colors, obviously the good, can you just quickly, just something for you to think about, if they click it was very good, can that not link straight to your Google reviews?
Nah, Google won't let you do that. It can lead them down a pathway, and you can send them. That's where we send them the email attached to it that just says, hey, you can just click or copy and paste it, and this would be great. And I don't know exactly what the verbiage is, but that has produced some positive results for us.
Okay. Another new thing that Google's now doing is they've got the finger up and down next to it. So they're I get a lot of notifications now from Google saying, hey, 400 people have read your review. Thanks for the thing. And you go and have a look at it, and it's got all these likes. So get your staff to like the reviews that especially when it mentions their name.
Well, one of the things that you can look at is that the default setting when you go and look at people's reviews on their page is most relevant.
Yes.
That's the default. And
people can change
what's
it.
most relevant is how many plus. So what you have to do when you want to change your look is go to all the 5 stars, get everybody to know to like all of those. Then what happens is they all naturally move to the top. You still have 1 stars, but you don't see them anymore.
No.
And when a person comes and they start looking and they don't see ones, they aren't as quick to just add a 1. It's weird. That's just a psychological thing, but it's worked.
Yeah, spot on.
All right, guys, we got to wrap this up, but thank you so much. Dennis, I think we just had a really good session just on Google reviews. Thank you so much, Brian, for your help. We're really blown away to have you on board today. Some great information, meaty information for our viewers and our listeners as well. So thanks so much for your time.
Sure.
Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, you can bring me back when I bust 1,000 reviews, okay?
We'll do that. You let us know.
Won't be long.
We'll get an update. We'll get an update on exactly how long it takes, and we'll say that at that point in time, I think I'll be able to claim that I am the highest-rated property management company in the world.
Globally, for sure. You may even be there now. So thanks very much, Brian. Thank you, Dennis, as well. And thanks, everybody. Take care.
Yeah, and Darren, just to add, we love the green Grinch wall behind you. We're in December.
Well, my video green screen technology isn't working today, so I'll be having a chat to Zoom about.
Don't worry about the excuse. Everybody knows our partnership is I'm like the PE teacher at school, and you're like the Prime Minister. You're like the high school, what do you call it? The
principal?
The principal. You have just...
Someone's got to keep time, mate. We're all done. Thanks so much, everybody, and take care.
Take care. Thanks.
Thanks.